Today we're going to talk about how to make a crochet sash. Something to keep in mind, the rules do specify that the sash needs to be 2 inches wide and then go from shoulder to hip. And then the colors are specified in the classes. Make sure to pay attention to the colors and understand that shiny versions of colors have different meanings. So like if you're making a wizard sash and you decide to make it shiny, well then that makes it gold, so now it's a paladin sash. Keep those in mind. Bard does say a specific shade of blue. So to start out, you're going to want to measure yourself. So if you have a measuring tape, use that. If you don't have measuring tape, you can use a little bit of your string and measure it against a ruler, or just use that piece of string as your reference of how long you need to make it. To measure on yourself, put your belt on, and where it rests naturally, sometimes it rests higher, sometimes it rests lower. This will affect your measurement. The way that I like to go is long enough that it can sit underneath the belt and keep in place. So I take my measuring tape, cross my shoulder, up underneath my belt, and then take that measurement of however long you want it. 60 inches is a good average American adult length. You can go shorter, you can go longer. If you're looking to make a loner sash, I would go with 60 inches and maybe make a couple of them a little bit longer. If you're making it as a gift and your recipient is average American sized, 60 inches is a good way to go. If you can casually measure them, do that, or have a partner measure them, or you can ask to borrow one of their sashes and measure a sash that you know fits them. There are plenty of ways to do it. Find the one that works best for you or whoever you're making the sash for. For materials, you're going to need your crochet hooks. I usually run with a 5.5 millimeter hook. That's just kind of my default. I like the way that it looks and it works up fast. Next, you'll need your yarn. Any old yarn will do. I usually work with acrylic because it's cheap. To keep in mind that acrylic will start to pill and kind of look gross if you're in a high friction area. Pick out a yarn that is fitting for the hook size that you want to use. This one's for 5.5, so I picked up my 5.5. That matches. And then make sure that your color matches the class that you're trying to work on. This one is for a bard. Bard has a very specific shade of blue that they want. It's a lighter blue. Another thing you can do is that you can put rings on your sash so that a player can hook strips or other things to their sashes. And then there are multiple ways you can do this. These are 1-inch rings. I buy them in bulk on Amazon, or you can get them at a leatherworking shop or Tractor Supply. Another option are binder clips, which you can get at Dollar Tree, and that makes it so you can adjust where they go, and then you can tape them, glue them, hot glue them, or just leave them like that. I have binder clips on one of my woven sashes, and I've never had a problem with them pulling out. Just make sure you check them occasionally. To decide where you put your rings, I usually take my measurement and divide it by 4. That should put it right in the middle of your chest. This is a 60-inch sash. Divide that by 4, you get 15. And so working up from the bottom, this is 15 inches, and then I added another one 3 inches higher. That should put it right in the middle of your chest. You can measure, of course, on yourself to make sure that it is in the right place. And then, of course, you need some sort of measuring device for measuring around your body for the sizing, and then measuring to make sure that your sash is 2 inches wide. Something else to keep in mind with your sashes, you are allowed to do whatever design you'd like. However, there are a few things that you can avoid. Don't put any silver on unless you are a paragon. People get grumpy about that, especially silver trims. Gold trim is reserved for anti-paladin. And then any sort of phoenix imagery, I tell people to avoid that just to avoid any sort of confusion. And then additionally, keep in mind is that yarn catches really easily on gear and armor. If you are going to be fielding with chainmail, or the person that you're making this for is going to be fielding with chainmail, I would suggest using an alternate material like fabric or paracord or craft cord, because it catches so easily and it only takes one time to catch it and tear it, and then your work's going to start unraveling, or you're going to get all these weird strings poking out everywhere, or they won't be able to get the sash off their armor, and then you're gonna have to cut it off. So keep that in mind when you make it. There are a couple of ways you can do this. I'm going to start with the easiest, but it does look the worst. We are just gonna chain something long enough to match my measurement. So my measurement was 60 inches, so we are gonna just chain until the cows come home. We are going to pretend that this got to 60 inches. So we have our chain that is the length that goes all the way around your body, the measurement we took earlier. And you have two options. You can either work it back and forth, or you can join it in around and make sure that you don't twist your stitches. I usually work it back and forth just because I have a tendency to not get it straight when I join it in around, but that's an option. It's just join it in around and then just keep working around. And then you want to work this. This is working side to side. So you want to work this and stitch into it until it gets to be 2 inches wide. So let me lay this on my other sash. So we are working from one side to the other side. So we need to build up until we reach 2 inches. So you can use whatever stitch you'd like. Single crochet, double crochet, half double crochet. I like half double crochet, but if you're trying to make this really, really fast, double crochet. So that's one option. It does look the worst. Your other options are working from the other direction. So like this one, we start at one end and work up to the other side. So this one might need to take a little bit of testing, make some swatches. I think this one is 3, 6, 9, so 11 stitches wide. So 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I just did one row of double crochet, and we are working up from this bottom, and we are just going to go until we reach 60 inches. This is my personal favorite of how to do it. It's a basket weave stitch. How to put in a ring is I usually will put about 3-ish stitches through it. So you want to center this. This is 3, 3, 3, so we want the middle 3 stitches. I crocheted to my middle 3 stitches. We're going to do our yarn over because we're doing double crochet. Put our ring here. Go through it. Trigger up this back post. And stitch like normal. So now we've got 1 stitch going through the ring. We're going to stitch through it again. And stitch through it a 3rd time. And then continue as normal. And then on your next row, you can just go straight across. Don't need to do anything fancy. So if you look close, I just stuck the ring on the top and then did a couple of stitches through it, and it's stuck. It's not coming out. The last bit is how to end these. This specific one I wouldn't suggest. I put a little bit of leather lacing as a sort of breakaway, but it's just ended up as a failure point. These come untied over time and people get really irritated with them. You can replicate this with some yarn. It's just cutting a strip of yarn and then taking your crochet hook. Just weave your crochet hook through. I usually just do back and forth each stitch. And then hook your yarn, pull it through. And then I would pull it through the other side, tie it in a knot, and that would keep it together. But we have a crochet hook at our disposal, so we can make it look nice. So you have 2 options for ending a sash. You can end it with the 2 ends flush to each other, or 90-degree turn makes it sit a little bit better on your body. My personal favorite is the 90-degree turn. It does add a little bit of extra effort. So let's do the flush first. you have a couple options. Before you cut off the end of your work, you will have your tail or the continuation of your yarn. We're going to pretend like this blue is attached. We can either slip stitch, or we can single crochet, or you can double crochet, whatever you'd like. Stick our hook through both. I'm going to do a single crochet first. Let me find the correct end of my yarn. Single crochet, jab through both, single crochet, jab through both, single crochet, you end up with this just kind of continuation of your work, holds it, and then you can also slip stitch. And just pull through, pull through, pull through. I personally like this one. I think it looks the best. Pull through, pull through. And then you would weave in your ends like normal. And then, if we were to turn it 90 degrees, we're going to need to stitch. You can either just do stitch, stitch, or you can do stitch, 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 or stitch around all four sides. It's up to you. Easiest to do is a slip stitch, or you can stitch it with a needle, whatever you prefer. And then when you reach the corner, just turn 90 degrees, start working in the next direction. And you can take time to make this look better than mine. Reach the next corner, so I'm going to 90 degrees again. And I would continue to work all the way around, connecting it back here, and that makes it a nice joined sash.